Ding.
This.
And then you have the slides up as well. Perfect. All right, well, good evening, everyone. Well, we've heard a little bit from Mr. C and France talk about this so-called amazing program so far. We want to come out and talk to you about the truth and nothing but the truth about L2k. My name is AJ Filardo.
My name is Isabella Gehring.
I'm Charlie Powell.
And I'm Madeline Wynn. All four of us have been in the L2k program since freshman year, and we feel that it is very important to hear our first-hand experience in the program.
You guys wanted the truth about the L2k program, and here's the truth. It's incredible.
During this speech, we're going to talk to you guys about what your next 4 years in L2k is going to look like, while emphasizing the importance of sticking it out. We also are going to talk about how much of value community is to this program.
So firstly, the next 4 years, I remember my L2k signing night like it was yesterday. I was sitting at that table with my parents. I was very nervous and anxious, but let me tell you, by signing your L2k contract, you are not signing your life away. If anything, we are very excited to get you excited for the next 4 years of L2k by sharing a highlight from each year.
Obviously, you gotta start with freshman year of L2k. This is where you learn your 3 basic skills for L2k, which translate across all parts of the classroom. This is writing, research, and public speaking. Writing is very important. Research logs, speeches, presentations, you're gonna have to write something for all of those. And so learning how to effectively write and use credible sources with your research, with using databases like Statista and EBSCOhost is really, really helpful. And you also learn public speaking skills that can help in other parts of the classroom, like speeches for English presentations or for science presentations.
And then sophomore year is very heavy in collaborative work where you'll have several group speeches and experiments. And the biggest project of this year is research and development, where you essentially take an idea and form something from scratch in order to solve a real-world problem. And this takes up about the last 2 months of sophomore year, and it uses a culmination of skills that have been developed throughout the program so far, such as researching, designing, prototyping, and experimenting. So for our project, my team actually took a plasma car, which is this little toy kid's plastic car that moves forward by turning the wheel back and forth, and we made several additions to it to actually automate the system so it can move on its own without actually manually steering the wheel.
And for my R&D project, you'll see in the middle picture, my group was very into medicine, and so we wanted to create a surgical retractor, and so we were able to build a robotic arm out of 3D printed parts from our school's library, and we also coded it using Raspberry Pi.
My group took a bit of an unconventional route. We decided to study the impact on psychology when you have different forms of fundraising. So with the beneficiary of the American Heart Association, we studied how contact versus non-contact methods impact how much money people give.
Moving on to junior year, one of my favorites, you take all of your skills in collaboration, research, public speaking, and you continue to do fun group projects. One of my favorite is the Rube Goldberg project. You'll see Isabella and Charlie working very hard on their machine, but basically you make a chain reaction type machine, so if you're engineering, you'll really like that project. Another great thing about junior year is the junior year job shadow. So each student has to do a 20-hour job shadow, and I was very into research and genetics, and so I did mine at the University of Colorado Boulder Molecular Neurogenetics Laboratory, where I worked with Dr. Hunter Matthews, and then I was able to genotype some mice. And so I was able to put this experience on my college resume and college apps, and I was able to gain a deeper understanding of what I wanted to do for my future.
And finally, your senior year. So senior year is only first semester, but it's full-time classes. And something that's reoccurring throughout the program that continues this year is writing, and specifically logs. Except this year, there's less of a focus on STEM and more of a focus on the principles of grit and your future career. There's also something called seminars, and for these seminars, it looks something like that middle section there. And it's a really great opportunity to get some authentic business exposure to what it's like to have sophisticated conversations with your peers. And then you can see some of my annotations that I took for the article that we were discussing. And then finally, building off of what Maddie was just talking about, we have the career practicum. And I was lucky enough to do mine in 2 different places, the first of which was at the Capitol with Representative Shannon Byrd. It was a fantastic experience where I got to connect with so many different facets of the Capitol, including aides, other representatives, and department heads. And I even got to sit on the dais during some floor work. And then I also got to intern at the Denver 7 studio.
So now that we've heard a little bit more about our interests and what we've kind of done for our L2K careers, we have a little bit of an audience engagement for you, which is standard for every speech you do in L2K. We're going to have you guys guess projects. We'll have 4 up there on the board. Every single one of us has done one of these projects. You guys will raise a finger that will correspond to the number for which person. So I'll be number 1, Isabella will be number 2, Maddie will be number 3, and AJ will be number 4. We're going to explain the project, and you guys will just have to hold up your hands and guess who did what. So starting off, a little bit of an eclectic group here. We had an Among Us and L2K experience. This was a speech, so you guys just turn and talk your tables, kind of figure it out. Who do you think did what? Remember, 1, 2, 3, and 4. AJ, doing the Among Us speech. And then the next one we have is the meditation and breathwork vlog. I've seen a lot of twos for that, so you guys all think that Isabella did that one. And so it's just between me and Maddie. Who do you think ended up doing an experiment on yeast? Okay, I'm seeing a lot of 3s. That's kind of split. What do you think? A lot of 3s. I think a lot of 3s. We all think that Maddie did that, so it leaves me with the Edna Mode speech. In reality, I think you guys got the AJ one right. Among Us, the L2K experience was AJ's speech.
Yes, so actually at the end of our L2K experience, we give a senior speech, and this is about a 15 to 20 minute speech basically outlining our experience in L2K and what we learned. And we get to choose our theme for this, so I chose the video game Among Us, and basically why I did this is this game was very popular in the fall of my freshman year during L2K, so it has some sentimental value to me, so it's interesting to see it come kind of full circle as I gave my senior speech about this topic.
And as for the breathwork and meditation log, you guys thought it was Isabella, but it was actually Maddie who did it.
Yeah, so about logs, those are the research papers that you write about. And at the time, I was really into yoga. And one of the important parts of the practice is controlled breathing. And so my log was all about how controlled and mindful breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, and it can help in digestion and even memory. So it just goes to show that you can take any topic and write about it for a log.
And then for the yeast experiment, you guys all thought Isabella did it, but I was actually the one who did an experiment on yeast. During quarantine, I got very bored, as a lot of you probably did, so I took up baking. That was actually one of the loaves of bread that I baked throughout this very lengthy process. I actually submitted this to Mr. C. in France, and I'm very sorry you had to read 40 pages about yeast. I did it twice more during that year, no more. But it was a really interesting experiment, and I actually really encourage you guys to intertwine your personal interests with your L2K career. And then for the final one, the end of mode speech was actually Isabella.
Yes, so I did Edna Mode for the same project that AJ did his Among Us speech for, and the reasoning was that I have loved Edna Mode ever since I first watched her for her wit and her confidence, and so I used her plot to kind of walk the students through my L2K journey.
Yeah, so you just heard all of our fun projects and skills that we've learned throughout L2K, but as Mr. Sanfrance mentioned, what I love about L2K students is that they're never just L2K students. So there's a misconception that L2K is going to take over your life, but this is not the truth. For example, I was very passionate about student government, and so I joined student government my sophomore year. I'm currently the student body president, where I love engaging with the student body. I love holding fun events and pep rallies throughout the year. And then I've also been doing ballet since I was 2 years old, and so L2K has never stopped me from exploring my other extracurricular activities.
Maddie brings up a great point about academics and athletics. I'm a soccer player at Legacy. I spent a lot of time thinking about how this is a very difficult course, and I was worried about whether or not I was going to be able to balance the schedule of soccer with summer trainings, daily practices, games throughout the week, and endless conditioning along with L2K. But this was not a worry at all. After winning over 50 games in my career, winning 2 front-range league titles, I can confidently say that academics and sports do they absolutely mix with L2k as well.
And then as for me, during L2k, I actually ran cross country in the fall and also track in the spring, and I really never had an issue about trying to sacrifice my sport in order to keep up with the workload with L2k, and the same vice versa. If anything, being in L2k actually improved my experience as a runner because I could research topics that were genuinely interesting to me. For example, I remember doing logs on electrolytes and muscle regeneration, which by themselves are interesting topics, but it was so much cooler that these were also applicable to areas of my life outside of L2k, so they gave me the opportunity to research things that I had outside of school.
And you'll begin to notice a bit of a pattern here, but I also have experienced no issue combining my personal life with L2k. And in fact, I've even been encouraged to seek out unique opportunities because I've been surrounded for 4 years by this motivated and passionate group of people. And an example of this is that I currently hold 7 leadership positions within our community and then on the state level as well. And I also am a tri-sport athlete, and I enjoy going up and snowboarding with my parents and my family on the weekends.
So now we've heard a little bit more about the tangible and intangible benefits of L2k. It's important to note that these benefits are not singled out through 1 year, but actually spread out throughout the entire process. So we want to urge you guys to just stick it out and trust the process. And it just kind of shows just how much you've changed when you look back on a senior year. We thought no better way to do that than by showing you guys some of our freshman year pictures.
Yes, so one common misconception in the program is that the impact of Legacy 2000 lessens as time goes on, but this cannot be further from the truth. L2k is actually structured in a way where each year builds upon itself and you'll constantly be pushed out of your comfort zone. I think a really good example of this is if you asked me in the fall of my freshman year to actually reach out to somebody and set up a job shadow, I would look at you like you were crazy and just be totally dumbfounded by what you're saying. But by the time junior year actually rolled around, I had enough experience between giving speeches to the class and reaching out to people for interview contacts that this initially daunting task seemed a lot more reasonable. Additionally, L2k has made me so much more confident about my future. Freshman year, I had no idea what I wanted to do after high school, but by the end of sophomore year, I saw how much I enjoyed building and designing things, which led me to believe that a path down engineering would be the best course for me.
And I hope all of you are as excited for your freshman year as I was on my first day of online school. Some things have changed since then, one of which is that I've shifted some of my career aspirations, and a really big fueling point of this was L2k, and specifically junior year, because we have to write blogs that are really specific to the industry that we're interested in, and you get really integrated into what it's like to work there. So I was interested in becoming a criminal justice lawyer. However, I learned through these logs that it's a really hard situation when you're trying to do work-life balance. And so I instead decided to switch some gears, and next year when I go to college, I'm going to be taking up a minor in business administration to cover a wider range of future possibilities for me.
Oh gosh, this is me freshman year. As you can see, not only did I lack bangs, but I also lacked confidence. I was very scared going to high school, fresh out of middle school, because I was very shy, I was very introverted. However, being in L2k, I really gained the confidence and skills to speak to a whole group of people, and it even gave me the confidence to run for student body president. So I would say L2k has definitely helped me grow since then. And exactly what AJ and Isabella were talking about, I now have a better idea of what I want to do as a career. For my senior year career practicum, I did mine with a local dentist, and I found that it was the perfect mix of entrepreneurship, science, helping people in business, and so that's something that I want to study going into college. And without L2k, I don't think I would have been as prepared to enter the next step of my life if I didn't have these experiences.
And then this is actually a picture of me doing my first ever speech, a 3 to 5 minute speech. It was in Mr. C. Francis' classroom. This is the worst speech I think I've ever given. I used no cards. I still had my retainer in for some reason. I got an 83 on that one. It's still the lowest speech grade that I ever received, though I want to point this out because I want you guys to all trust the process. This is a very difficult program, but you guys are here for a reason, and the experiences and the people that you meet along the way will help push you and make you better every single day. So use the people around you, use the teachers that you have, use the unlimited resources around you to get better, and you will trust the process, and you'll become an unbelievable student and an unbelievable collaborator.
And finally, what we believe is the most important reason to stay with L2k, the community you will form along the way. And this is a theme that carries throughout all 4 years of your Legacy 2000 experience, and the connections you make with your fellow peers will be some of your most memorable high school moments. I particularly noticed this during senior year since it was a time for reflection and celebration and seeing how far everybody had come as a collective group. So if you're going to L2k worried that it's going to be you competing against your peers in order to be the top in the class, just know that you will be supported and encouraged by your fellow L2kers every step of the journey. All the more reason to stick with the program.
Absolutely, and as we close out on our L2k journey and you guys begin yours, we wanted to share some words of wisdom for you to take with you these next 4 years.
So you guys are very lucky. You guys got these free notebooks. We did not have that when we joined L2k. But treat this as a brain dump journal. If you have an interest or a passion, maybe you have a question or a fun research article you came across, make sure to write it down in your journal so that next time if you have a log or speech you have to write, you already have a topic that you have on hand.
And then we have kind of a weird saying here in L2k called yoga whoopee. It stands for you only get out what you put in. This is, I've said it time and time again, this is a very difficult program. So if you're not prepared to put in the work and to use your peers every single day to get better, you're not going to have a very fun experience.
Exactly, and something that I want to emphasize as well is the importance of balance. L2k is a really hard journey, and sometimes the extracurriculars that it encourages and the hard classes as well, it can be draining, and it's really important to find those cup-filling activities, whether that's baking or going outside or spending time with loved ones. Be sure to partake in things that might not even fit on an application.
And then when you do focus on L2k, you actually have the ability to turn in a log for revisions before submitting the final draft. Definitely use this to your advantage. Avoid procrastination. Get a second pair of eyes before turning it in. Your grades will 100% thank you on this.
We feel that open-minded students make successful L2k students. If there's a project that you don't really feel is important, make sure to just do it, and at the end you can really see why that project was purposeful.
And I'd like to comment on the flexibility of this program. L2k allows you to channel your passions into a work environment where you're able to get such fantastic feedback. So be sure to let your actual and authentic interests guide what you do, because it'll change who you are as both a person and as a worker.
Also, try to collaborate with your peers whenever possible and use them as resources. Even if it's not specifically a group project, everybody's still doing the same project, so there's no harm in bouncing ideas off of one another and kind of talking through things to get more ideas for yourself.
And then our final little piece of information is enjoy the journey. Look back. We didn't do this a whole lot, but we look back on our journey and we smile a lot because of the friends that we made along the way, which is very corny to say, but it's completely true. This is a picture of our 4th hour senior class. All of us are in this. And the thing you'll notice with L2k is there's not a lot of classes. There's 11 total teachers, 11 total classes. You're going to have a lot of people in the same classes year in and year out. So a lot of the people that you meet in these classes will become some of your closest friends throughout this high school journey. So smile, enjoy the journey, enjoy the hard work, and then reap the benefits.
And if you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to catch us after the presentation, or you can reference these emails here. Thank you so much for listening, and good luck.